we don't have a dedicated teams in all law enforcement, consumer affairs authority, judiciary is the only option we can, but that filing a civil action can be cumbersome.
If we don't develop the right ecosystem, just developing the law and the enforcement alone is not enough.
I think in the near future, maybe in the next couple of years, the World Intellectual Property Organization will have a diplomatic conference on this and a treaty coming up.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another interview in the series Shared Values, partnering with the Reshape Europe 2022, in which the Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom Sri Lanka office, in partnership with EconomyNext and Echelon magazine as well, are looking into shared values between Sri Lanka and the European Union, and how we can foster those values and work on them so that we can create prosperity in the post-crisis period. I'm delighted to have with me three wonderful, very eminent and very important stakeholders in this whole regime of protecting intellectual property. Joining me is Geethanjali Ranawaka, who is the Director General of the National Intellectual Property Office. And then I have Rajitha Jayasuriya, who is Director of Corporate Affairs of MAS Holdings. Welcome, Rajitha. And last but not least, one of the long-standing practitioners and the founder and the managing partner of, the legal firm with one of the largest international collaborations, Mr. Sudath Perera of Sudath Perera Associates. Welcome, Sudath.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with you, madam. There are many regulations and rules that govern IP in Sri Lanka. Briefly, if you can just give us an overview of some of them.
Yes, currently we have the Intellectual Property Act number 36 of 2003, which was amended recently, that I will explain later. But this law actually evolved from the British laws up to about 1978. We had the British laws here, and thereafter we had our own system, that is Code of Intellectual Property Act number 79, 1979 Act. Thereafter in 2003, after the TRIPS agreement, accession to the TRIPS agreement, we had to amend our laws, and the current law is 2003 Act. Time to time we have to introduce amendments, and for that we have regulations as well. 2005 regulations, so the numbers are given in our internet websites, so you can get all the details. So these are the two areas you have to remember about when you say intellectual property laws in the country, Act and the regulations.
Right. And just a quick follow-up to that, I think we were very excited about joining the Madrid Protocol, which would have made it very easy for anyone in Sri Lanka to register that IP. How are we on the progress on that?
Yes, the Intellectual Property Act, right now what we give is a protection for trademarks, patents, designs and copyright. The main four areas, and unfair competition law is comprehensively given here. In regard to trademarks, it also has trademarks, service marks, trade names, certification marks, collective marks, all those are given here in our Act. But there is a problem, like, when an international applicant comes in, they have to go through an agent here definitely, because of the provisions in the Act. There is no way that they can come in to file an application. But if you accede to the Madrid Protocol, a local applicant can file a direct application through us to World Intellectual Property Organization, which is the UN organization for all intellectual property rights protections. So when we submit that application, if the applicant has the intention to register in few territories, those countries can be designated. So that application will be entertained by WIPO, and the fees will be charged accordingly, and they will submit it to the particular countries, the member countries of the Madrid Protocol. Then based on that only, the applicant can go into those countries. There is a possibility of rejection, but with one application in English language or Spanish or French, you can go in with a Madrid Protocol application. Also one single fee. Right. You don't have to pay for each and every country a fee. it will be bigger than our fees, obviously. But it will be one single charge and one single application in one language. And also you don't need to have translations or anything. Like if it's Japan, you don't have to translate it to Japanese. So like that, it's a kind of a convenience only, and also saving some time and of course finances also.
Right.
So that's the easy route. And also for us, when an international applicant comes in, we also can get a lot of foreign exchange. The way that it is coming in, WIPO will transfer the funds, the fees that will be paid by the country applicants, and it will be sent to our country, to our office, through the systems.
Right. There's a lot of inquiries about when we will exceed.
Yes, actually, we have been doing a lot of work during the past 5 to 6 years. It's a bit of a concern. I agree with you. What happened was, we actually got the cabinet approval only in 2020,
Right.
2020, to accede to the Madrid Protocol, and we have prepared a draft law also, draft legislation, because it has to be an amendment to the current act.
Yes.
It's not a separate law. Then we discussed with the legal draftman, and we are currently with the draft document in our hand. But only thing is, we actually discussed with the directors of the World Intellectual Property Organization who are running the Madrid registry over there, personal discussions, and they are of the view that we should be not going into complicated provisions into the act.
Right.
Because each year there are changes into the regulations. So therefore, if they are going to change Madrid Protocol regulations every year, we will have to change amend our act every year. Then it has to go to the parliament, and all that will have to be done. So therefore, they are advising us to go with a few sections to the act, and the rest goes to the regulation, so that the procedural aspects will be covered by the regulation. So this is our concern, because the legal draftman, we have to discuss and convince the legal draftman also and the Attorney General's Department not to go ahead with complicated provisions into the act. So that is where we are right now, and we are hopeful that they will of course support us, because up to now the good office of legal draftman and also the Attorney General's Department have supported us very well for all the other amendments. So for this also, I am hopeful that they will support us very well.
Right.
So thank you.
I think that's a very smart approach, because it allows us a lot of flexibility in a very complicated area. Raj, I'm going to come to you. MAS has one of the largest global footprints of any Sri Lankan corporate, and obviously you deal with the intellectual property regimes of many countries. How would you compare us with some of the international regimes that you deal with, and where can we improve and add on and so on?
So Imran, because of the global footprint that MAS has, and the fact that we sort of moved away from our journey of being contract manufacturers to more design-oriented and innovation-driven organization all the way back in 2012, we really had to focus on the intellectual property that we were creating and how we protect it. Obviously, our first instinct is to file in the country of origin and protect your IP in Sri Lanka. But us being a more globalized organization, there is no international IP protection. So because of that, you have to file in the jurisdiction that you want protection in. So if you want to commercialize in the US or the EU or any part of the EU, you have to go and file in those particular countries. So in the early part of our journey, we used to file our patents, and I'm going to talk a lot about patents because with innovation, patents is what's most associated to IP protection. We used to file in Sri Lanka, and then we very early found out that Sri Lanka doesn't have very robust search. It doesn't pick up on international databases or search databases. So, and as a result, you cannot claim priority. If you want to take your invention to another country, you might want to file in Sri Lanka and take it to another country. But if there's another inventing in the same landscape, they will not pick up my invention as a first priority Sri Lankan filed patent. So we had to then internationalize our efforts, and we will file what's called in the Patent Cooperation Treaty.
Okay.
We make application in the PCT,
Right.
and then we will take our inventions and our IP globally. It's a little bit like the Madrid Protocol for trademarks. The PCT gives you the ability to sort of internationalize your patent applications a little bit more freely and more speedily than it would if you go individually into each country. So those are some of the critical issues that we face, because the lack of a robust database where our patents would get picked up in an international search is a critical issue. The fact that we are still yet to accede to the Madrid Protocol holds us back in terms of our trademark protection. And of course, with the ability not to have been able to digitize as fast as our other PCT member states have, I know there's a lot of work being done around digitization, being able to file patents from a digital on a digital platform, or trademarks on a digital platform. We are still, because of all the other issues that we suffered in the country, we are still a little bit behind. So there's an immense amount of backlog and a lot of work to get done there as well. So the ease of actually filing and protecting in the country, we get retarded a little bit, and then we have to spend lots of money to go out of the country and then engage with patent attorneys overseas and then file our trademarks there.
Right. I think in addition to the law, I think the technology also has to kind of come up.
Of course, yes. Actually, there are two projects in our hand offered by the World Intellectual Property Organization. One is to upgrade the current the computer system, that is software system, intellectual property or automated system, to upgrade that to a certain level. And also the other one is digitization of our documents. All IP documents will be digitized free of charge. Actually, we don't have to spend anything. They will come here and do a project freely. So these two are in our hand, but due to the current situation in the country, we are a bit held up. And also we have a serious issue in space issue in our office. We are looking for a location to have our office permanently, and here in our office itself, the Registrar General's office, we are using a very small space when compared to other offices. We don't have that much of space, so therefore these two are kind of getting us a little delaying some of our work, and also when this project comes in, they have to be inside our office, the international experts and also the people who will be engaged in these activities. So these are things that we have to provide facilitation, and otherwise we are ready to because our office is very positive about it, taking it in. And also the ministry is supporting us very much.
Excellent. So I think it's heartening to know the projects are in place. It's a matter of the logistical and other difficulties.
That's right. From our side, we should be ready. They are offering us
of course.
Very much.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. So that I'm going to come to you, and I think one of the peeves of many investors is enforcement. And I think you've done a lot of work in that area. So what are our shortcomings? And I know there's a lot, but what are the main ones, and how should other countries?
Let me explain what our IP Act is. It's in line with the TRIPS agreement, and also we have enough laws to fight counterfeiters, pirates, as well as other IP violators. Our systems, judiciary, everything is there. The only problem I see is enforcement, practical issues.
Right.
There are many. Just to give you a brief thing with regard to the available options, we can enforce through criminal actions. It can be private planes as well as police planes. Then we have the civil option. That is, commercial high court is vested with exclusive jurisdiction to handle and determine IP cases, whether it's counterfeit or whatever the violations. It has the jurisdiction for the entire island. which is very good, and that's based in Colombo. The other area is administrative enforcement, that is customs and consumer protection authority. So those options are there. I won't go into the details of it. So those options, the problems what we face, especially when it comes to criminal enforcement, we don't have exclusive teams. We don't have an exclusive setup to enforcement. Like Geethanjali's side doing a wonderful job registering prosecution aspect. But when it comes to enforcement, we don't have a dedicated team. Dedicated teams in all law enforcement, consumer affairs authority, judiciary is the only option we can. But that filing a civil action can be cumbersome, because you need to, especially when you asking for an enjoining order, you have to disclose everything. So it takes time to gather information from international clients, local clients, all that. So we have to educate. We spend time. When it comes to IP violators, they move really fast, faster than a cheetah. So we also need to have that practically enforcement, this thing on the run to get them. So even though as a brand owner representing them, lawyers try to help and engage with the law enforcement, but they don't have that commitment, because these units, we don't have an exclusive unit. Everything happens through CID commercial unit, but it can be done through SCIB units around the island.
Right.
We have tried.
Right.
And we have tried all these things,
right,
as lawyers, and many other lawyers also try these things. The most difficult task is educating them. They don't have that brand awareness, importance of this. So all these things needs to be addressed. That's one area. Now I think investment protection, we all focus through BOI. I don't see any section or any clause giving protection to IP, because IP is very, very important to all global investments to come in.
Absolutely. And stay.
And stay. Yes, enforcement is very important. IP registration process is there. But what's the use if somebody is violating, if he can't take action? So that's going to create a lot of problems. So that I think that's one area. With the customs also, we should bring this customs recordation process. When the mark is registered at the IP office, so the marks registered in Sri Lanka can file recordation. Now advanced economies and some, even India, all these places, they have recordation process in place. So your registered mark can be recorded with customs, and they monitor import and exports.
Right.
Through the consumer protection unit at the custom. But there again, the officers keep changing. There aren't any dedicated setups in these institutions. So the regulators, they are very capable. They really want to do something, but suddenly you find that lady or gentleman is removed to a different this thing. So all what we have invested by training and everything goes, it's not going to be useful. So I think this is very important. Country needs to have a exclusive, dedicated department using members from all these regulatory bodies, customs, law enforcement, IP department, consumer affairs, and have a task force. So then everyone can go, and so they will mainly focus on IP. Now sometimes we don't know where to go.
Absolutely.
So depending on the issue, the time factor, so we find some sort of solution, but that's not the way it should happen.
Absolutely, I agree. I think when you look at how we fight COVID or terrorism for that matter, I think we did bring people together in different task forces, and it's relatively effective.
Yes,
I think it's time we need to look at this.
So I think it has to come from the Parliament and the Cabinet. That's the legislation, because available legislation they can use. They just have to create that.
Absolutely.
We have to lobby and get this thing going.
I think Imran Sudath picked up on an important piece, which was education. And as much as we need education and awareness, and I think Geethanjali also spoke about this in terms of enforcement,
Absolutely.
we also have to create an awareness amongst the public
Absolutely.
about
And
what
that-
is IP,
Exactly.
how do you protect
Exactly.
your IP. Innovators, they don't
Exactly.
understand how to protect their
Exactly.
IP. And trademarks is more or less straightforward, but when it comes to patent and industrial designs, people don't understand how to protect it. There are no patent attorneys in Sri Lanka. And when I say patent attorneys, I don't mean a lawyer. Patent attorneys are very technical people who have science-based degrees, chemical engineering, industrial engineering kind of degrees and masters in, and they are trained to write a very technical document, which is a patent application. It is the strength of this patent application that will give the necessary safeguards to the inventors. And if you don't draft the right claims, if you don't have the right specifications, Sudath and Geethanjali both, I don't know, you might be able to input on this, you cannot enforce your patent even internationally. So we have a lot of work to do to strengthen this space. This is a very nascent space still. Our journey is very nascent. We have a very robust law, which is very comparable to any international law when it comes to our Intellectual Property Act. But everything associated to that,
Absolutely.
we
The
have so
ecosystem.
much more to our journey is long, and we need to recognize that. And I think it's not a negative. I think it's an opportunity for us to really create a difference.
Absolutely. So that I think you want to
I
add
think
to on education.
I have a plan. Well, this is my thought, and we have to educate. Now, see, when we were good old days, so either your focus is be a doctor, engineer, or that. But with the globalization and social media, our young minds have access to many different world is at your fingertips, right? We have to take the advantage of it. Now I think with various organizations, the companies like MAS and all these companies are helping to get these things going with the corporate sector, but we need to have more engagement from the government side. So with regard to IP, my thought is we should go to primary, secondary level, workshops, rural level, because there are amazing talents and they know Ayurvedic aspect. We can educate them. If you talk to young people, they are aware of the environment today better than us. And so, that's the age, they'll pick up anything. Between primary and secondary, you teach them any language, they'll pick up. So we have to make use of that. We need to address this. I was thinking of a concept, Gamata IP. And
wonderful.
You go to these people and show them, even if you can't get into the university, you respect IP, you have a future. As she was trying to explain, we can take this as step one. Then we have the robust setup in our acts. And then the difficult part is the enforcement regime to get this thing. So this is how we can talk about it. It's a long journey, long topic. But that's how I think we have to educate our young people, have a plan for 10 years. So after the second decade, things will come into universities.
For sure.
Through universities, Moratua, Perera,
best
they have
in attention,
units,
yeah.
but they don't have resources, funding to get these things. So then you can.
We have some of the best minds in Sri Lanka, really,
Yes,
right?
beautiful
I mean,
minds.
May
They
I
are-
add,
they're really
add a few
superb.
lines to that,
Yes.
what Sudath said? Actually, this is a problem in this country because people are not aware as to what IP is really. In fact, during the past 6-7 years, we have been able to do a lot of work on that side because we took the assistance of WIPO. They have a lot of projects in their development agenda for the developing nations and the least developed nations. So we are in a middle level actually. So we have been able to get a few projects to Sri Lanka since about 2015 onwards, and we have the enabling IP environment project to which we connected the science and technology community and also the coordinating secretariat for science and technology.
Right.
So we have done our part because we didn't have much staff with us that time to dedicate to this project from our side. So, and also our science and technology staff are limited, few numbers are looking after the patent examination. So when it comes to coordination with the universities and all those science and technology institutes, research institutes, the best method is to link to another institute.
Exactly.
We can't do anything because we can't be holding on to everything. So therefore we selected the coordinating secretariat for science and technology, and we handed over that part, and they were running the show. Actually we supported as the main actor there in the middle, while it's in the middle, and we got all the universities in one line, and they are now actually having their university IP policies also. Right now we have been able to see that progress, as you all said, may not be still reflected in their work, but IP policies are being done by them. And also now the university business cells are there. That is a project again, this enabling IP environment project, and also there was support from the US government also, right. CLDP, that is Commercial Law Development Program, and also World Bank. All those institutes have been working with us, and also with the universities. So this particular cell has a dedicated officer now, dedicated desk, and that particular officer or couple of officers have been trained by IP office as well as WIPO projects also, and also by the World Bank projects and other things. So what I suggested was, when these two projects came from 2-3 sides, we will have one unit, because we don't have much people in universities also to sit in a place and do these things. So we have been training a couple of special people for that purpose, and now actually we see a better kind of development in that side, because we get the applications through this university business cell. So when we get an application, patent application from the university itself, it is an application filed by the university, of course, then it is looked at by this business cell official, right? And he will look at the prior art, whether same inventions being done somewhere else in the world, and why should we go ahead with a reinvention, like inventing the wheel again, because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Correct. Right? So therefore they are looking at it and looking at prior art, and then giving some advice to the applicants not to go ahead with this application, kind of, because it's not worth, right? Then you have to go for an improvement only, because the refrigerator is already invented. Exactly. Right? Yeah, exactly. A part of a refrigerator may be an improvement to say to keep the vegetables for maybe months, right, without putting in any preservative or anything. So that's a good invention. So that part the inventor can do, not anything else regarding the main function of the refrigerator. So this is the part that we have to look in, because the patent examiners are looking at it as it is the territory of that applicant, right? The work functioning of the research territory. Then thereafter, that part only we will give him the patent. Otherwise, he will be treading on other people's patents. So this part only patent examiners are looking at. And also our problem is, sometimes we have a few examiners only, so there is a delay. So these things are now bit supported by the university business cells and those institutes. And also one more thing, as you said, the younger generation should be aware of IP. So this is why I proposed to the government through the ministry to have this subject introduced to the syllabus, education syllabus.
That's a great.
And I had a discussion also with the NIE, National Institute of Education, who prepares the syllabus that is for the country. So then they said, I suggested not to have a bit of a long one, but have maybe half an hour a week, and that teacher can be trained by our units to teach children what is IP, how to respect IP. If you are in a commercial, if you are in a business, how to register a trademark, what is a trademark, right? A simple background only, right? Patent, have your own invention done, and also at the same time respect others' IP. This is what the other countries are doing, and also especially countries like Japan, the little children are also aware of what's IP.
Of course. Excellent. I think the future is very bright. The way, the kind
If you
of
have time,
interactions.
just to add, that's great thought and idea. The point is getting into the curriculum will take time.
Yeah.
Till then,
Awareness. Yeah.
private sector can
Yes. Support.
encourage these schools. They have various clubs. They
Yes.
can have IP club.
Yeah. Inventors clubs are
yes,
there.
and then through that you can create
Yes.
awareness,
Yeah.
education. So you need some funding. I'm talking to few companies
Yeah.
and to get
That's
this
good,
team
yeah.
going, which will definitely benefit, and they will not engage in unnecessary things. They know I have this idea, I have this. Some students can sing very well. So if you educate them, this is how you can take it forward, even if you don't. You are not successful in other areas, so you have an opportunity and develop it. You have to create that path. That awareness can come only through school.
Absolutely.
So that's I'm really I want to do this.
Actually, that's good because private sector also has to join hands with the government sector, because government sector has a funding problem, and also sometimes we cannot have our own people in all those places. So if if our officers, inventors commission and the inventors club running under them can join hands.
Absolutely. I think at university level, the awareness is better. So, like companies like MAS, we work very closely with the University of Colombo, Jayawardhanapura, or Moroto University, and we do great work with them. And there's far more awareness at these university levels about IP, inventions, innovations, how do we protect. And they also understand better avenues on how to commercialize. But I think, Geethanjali, you picked up on something, like I said as well, and you expanded on that, was the fact that education piece and the career opportunities that Sudath also spoke about. This is no longer you come out as a doctor or a lawyer or whatever these given careers. These are like things of the past, really. If you have a chemistry background and you have an engineering degree, there are other avenues. You can become an IP analyst, where you understand the landscape, to what Geethanjali spoke about. You help innovators really protect their innovations and create more robust innovations. IP analytics is such an important function of this space, whether it even be in trademarks or patents. I think it's only a few companies like MAS who have invested in IP analytics. We have trained people who would sit and analyze the landscape, constantly helping our innovators take their inventions and create better inventions around it. Right, so that's why we've been recognized by Clarivate as the top leading inventor in Southeast Asia for the last 2 consecutive years.
Excellent.
Filing 53, we have 53 granted patents globally, another almost 200 pending. It's not easy. This is also big money, and that's something that people have to understand. You want to protect yourself globally, you have to have the ability to spend money, and not many people, these young inventors, they don't have that ability. They don't have the education, they don't have the knowledge, they don't understand the landscape. Our system needs to be more robust. Then they need to engage IP analysts. Then you need to have internationally renowned patent agents and attorneys to help you on that journey to internationalize and commercialize. So there's a lot that goes on, that everybody is working in silos. And I think if you can bring all of these efforts together into a national forum and bring private-public partnerships like we had done with Slintech, where we had a Sri Lanka National Institute of Nanotechnology, which is a very successful private-public partnership. Very much like that, we need to bring all these practitioners like Sudath, who are way ahead of the curve in terms of how you enforce, and people like Geethanjali, who understands the business and legal landscape, and people from the business community to come together and really develop this environment. If we don't develop the right ecosystem, just developing the law and the enforcement alone is not enough. We are missing a large part of that journey if we don't develop the ecosystem holistically.
Exactly. I think that's wonderful sentiments. I think, and exactly that is why I think we even titled this saying, creating a culture of protecting IP as opposed to just the law. We're running out of time, so what I want to focus on as we conclude is a few nitty-gritties of that would be of help to corporates. One is what happens if your IP is violated overseas? What actions can you take from here? Or what partnerships should you create? I'd open up to any of you to look at that.
I'll
Rajitha,
give it
please.
a go first. And I think, again, we've all talked about this. Your first filing has to be very strong. So for that, you had to have engaged IP analyst, you had to have engaged a patent attorney to draft your patent so that you are getting the right claims and specifications. If not, you can't enforce it abroad. Because why? There is no global patent application or trademark IP protection.
Right.
So you have to really go and file in another country in order to be able to get that protection. If I have filed a patent application in Sri Lanka and the application is not strong enough and there's somebody violating my IP in Japan, it could be because they have not, in their database searches, found my IP as a prior art. So if I'm to go and even defend it, A, I need to have the money to defend because these are $1 million actions, and B, I need to have registered in that country first.
Right.
So the global framework in this space, it's very advanced. And without that knowledge, the skill and the financial support, I cannot enforce my IP overseas. The fundamental is that I have to have filed in that country if I want to protect my IP in that country. If I have not filed, it's very difficult to get protection. I think things like passing off, so that you can talk about this a lot. Only some countries recognize the concept of passing off.
Right.
Say, for instance, in the UAE, there is no concept of passing off. So if you have not registered in the UAE, your trademark, why would you want to register in the UAE, you would think, right? If you're not doing business there. But if somebody is having a company called MAS in the UAE, I can't go and even get passing off protection there. So there's a lot that we have to do in this space. And I think education is the key.
So that I think.
Yes, as Rajitha clearly explained, one thing is before you engage in any market, depending on the budgets, IP budgets, you can now, MAS is really a global company. So they know how to do these things, but as she rightly pointed out, it's really tough to reach the right people to handle such applications. So global expertise, one thing. And some of these countries, that's another area. So there are, you have to file civil suit for such actions, unfair competition and all that. But here we can file. So that those rights are recognized. So you have to file a civil case. But access to these things in other jurisdictions, very costly.
Right. I think exactly. I think that's a legal framework. But something else that I've noticed that's happening is a lot of smaller players who are up against the bigger players are using shaming through social media without ever going to the courts to kind of get some action. I think that's something we are, some of our companies can look at. It doesn't always work. It needs, virality. It's something that doesn't always happen, but it's happening. So,
reputation.
Yes. So you shame the bigger player into, recognizing that you have been harmed. It's difficult, but it's still possible as well.
We for the first time in Sri Lanka, we filed action against YouTube because they were using that platform. So they immediately stopped violating local IP rights of this thing. So it's defaming, and they're trying to dilute the brand value. So we do that type of work, and also I'm not trying to promote myself. There is globally all brands, they have dedicated brand protection departments. They have brand protection head. They have huge budgets for enforcement locally and globally as well. I think MAS is doing. There are other big players, they have learned this over the years, experience, and they have dealt with global brands. So that's why they are coming, they respect the compliance, all this, it blends together to build a global brand. That's, I think,
I think
so there is, I can
excellent.
go on. But,
I think we have just...
we can file action.
Excellent. That's
In
the
short,
heartening.
we can.
That is
You
very
have to
hard.
go to the right sort of
Frameworks
and people
Excellent.
who can really do it.
Excellent. I have about maybe a minute or two more, but I want to ask something that's very important, which is we have a lot of traditional knowledge and bio-piracy, right? And a lot of bio-piracy is happening with that even fauna and flora as well, in addition to other traditional knowledge as well. Very briefly, how can we protect this?
Yes, that's a complicated one. Only thing is, in the world also, still there is no unity among the countries to have how to go ahead with a kind of a policy framework for protecting traditional knowledge and genetic resources of the countries. I think in the near future, maybe in the next couple of years, the World Intellectual Property Organization will have a diplomatic conference on this and a treaty maybe coming up. But until such time, we have to look after our things, right? So because we have Fauna and Flora Act, and also the organization like Wildlife Department,
yes.
and also the other department is there are two departments, right? Wildlife and Forest Department. So both have to get together and have some kind of system to protect these things, because if you extract a kind of from a tree, from a bark or something, if you have kind of extraction and make another new product, so you can't stop people going ahead with a patent filing, because that person has come out with a new invention, maybe a treatment for say COVID, let's say COVID. So who knows? So then it's a patentable product. So wherever it is, like if it's not in the prior art, he will get the patent rights. So therefore, these things have to be looked at, how to protect our fauna and flora and also the biodiversity, within our country. And also we'll wait for this, special legal framework to come in, policy framework, and we will be supporting them very well from our side, because we are having links to the World Intellectual Property Organization. And also there are other aspects like you earlier also I think you wanted to talk about geographical indications.
Yes.
That is also a very important area where we have done a lot of work.
Yes, I think we got cinnamon.
Yes, we have got cinnamon already. Even without our own GI registration system, they have been able to get the protection in the European Union because based on our certification mark itself, right? So therefore that has gone ahead. There are other products coming from Sri Lanka, and also the manufactured products also can go ahead under GI protection. And currently our law is now in place. Again, new amendment to the Act this year in February, it was approved by the Parliament. So a special law for GI protection. And we just have to go ahead with the regulation only. So I think in about 2023, we'll be able to start registration of GI in Sri Lanka.
Excellent. Yes.
Right.
So on behalf of the Fidik Naman Foundation, Sri Lanka office and EconomyNext, I thank you, Geethanjali, Rajitha and Sudath for your time. I think this session will be of immense value to everyone, many stakeholders, because it can get shared and I think and without any costing, they can get access to decades of knowledge. Thank you so much.